Hi there, welcome. Let's start with a vertical prison, where survival often comes at the cost of humanity. This structure, consisting of over 100 floors, offers enough food for only the upper levels, leaving those at the bottom to face starvation, and sometimes cannibalism. This prison, officially named the Vertical Self-Management Center, is where Goring finds himself waking up in a concrete cell marked with the number 48. The cell contains a bed, a sink, and a gaping hole in the floor, which his cellmate Trimagasi refers to simply as the hole. The prison seems to stretch endlessly, with hundreds of floors, each housing 2 prisoners assigned fake names by the authorities. Every day, a platform descends through a hatch, carrying food. Prisoners have just 2 minutes to eat before the platform moves to the next level. The lower the floor, the less food remains. At the end of each month, inmates are randomly reassigned to different floors. On his first encounter with the platform, Goring refuses to eat, as he isn't hungry and hopes to leave some food for those below. However, after gorging himself, Trimagasi spitefully spits on the table, saying the prisoners above likely did the same. When Goring tries to save an apple for later, the cell becomes unbearably hot. He learns the hard way that hoarding food is forbidden, and unless he discards the apple, they will both burn to death. This incident reminds him of the interview he had before entering the prison, where he was required to sign an agreement acknowledging the harsh conditions. Once inside, there's no leaving until the sentence is completed. Each prisoner is allowed to bring one personal item, and Goring chose a copy of Don Quixote. Unlike most prisoners, Goring voluntarily entered the prison, agreeing to spend 6 months there in exchange for a certified diploma. The following day, Goring again refuses to eat when the platform arrives, which puzzles Trimagasi, as they are on the relatively fortunate 48th floor. When asked how he ended up in the prison, Trimagasi explains that it all began with a TV commercial. He had purchased an unusual knife advertised on television, only for a newer, superior knife to be promoted days later. Furious, he threw his TV out the window, killing a passerby. Given the choice between a psychiatric hospital and the pit, he chose the latter. Trimagasi shares that the lowest floor he ever reached was 132, a point where no food remained by the time the platform arrived. He knows there are even more levels below because he could see them. The true horror comes when prisoners are assigned to 2 consecutive lower levels, as starvation becomes inevitable. Goring is haunted by the possibility and attempts to reason with prisoners on other floors, urging them to ration their food. However, his pleas are ignored. Trimagasi, on the other hand, mocks his efforts by urinating down to the floor below. He also reveals the personal item he brought with him, a knife, the same one he had purchased from the TV ad that sent his life spiraling into chaos. The next time the platform descends, Goring finally gives in and starts eating. During this moment, he witnesses someone from an upper level fall through the hole to their death. Trimagasi casually remarks that this happens often, and no one bothers to intervene. Trimagasi begins recounting the various floors he has been assigned to and notes that they will likely remain together next month. Goring realizes that cellmates are kept together when reassigned to different levels. When the platform arrives again, a woman named Miharu is sitting on it. Goring is concerned, noticing that she's injured, but Trimagasi dismisses his worries, advising him to ignore her. Miharu descends through the prison once a month, searching for her missing child. She is notorious for killing her cellmates, believing it increases her chances of reuniting with her child on the following floor shuffle. The man Goring saw fall earlier was likely one of her victims. Trimagasi insists that he has never killed anyone. Instead, he has only eaten the corpses of those who ended up on his floor. When Miharu's platform descends further, the prisoners below try to take advantage of her, prompting Goring to yell at them to leave her alone. At the end of each month, all prisoners are gassed unconscious and then relocated to new floors. When Goring regains consciousness, he finds himself chained to a bed on the 171st floor. Trimagasi explains that he chained Goring because he is younger and stronger, claiming it's purely for self-protection. The air is filled with the sounds of screaming, echoing from other floors as prisoners react to their new assignments. When the platform arrives, there's not a single crumb of food left. Days pass without nourishment, and after 8 days, Trimagasi declares that it's time to eat. Goring pleads for mercy, but his cellmate coldly ignores him. Using the knife he brought with him, Trimagasi cuts a piece of flesh from Goring's leg. However, before Trimagasi can eat it, the platform arrives with Miharu on it. She intervenes, attacking Trimagasi with his own knife. After incapacitating him, she frees Goring and hands him the knife to finish the job. Goring, weak from the ordeal, passes out shortly after. When he wakes, Goring finds himself bandaged with torn bed sheets, thanks to Miharu, who remains by his side. She is now eating Trimagasi's corpse and offers some of the meat to Goring. Though disgusted, Goring reluctantly accepts. Miharu also gives him water before silently leaving with the platform. As days drag on, Goring is left alone with Trimagasi's decomposing body. Desperation drives him to feed on maggots from the corpse. During this time, he begins to hallucinate, haunted by Trimagasi's ghost, who watches him with judgmental eyes as he eats. At the end of the month, gas fills the cell again, putting Goring to sleep. In his dreams, he imagines himself with a woman, but upon waking, he's startled to find that his new cellmate is Imiri, the woman who interviewed him before his admission to the prison. To his surprise, she has brought a dog with her. They now find themselves on level 33. Imiri shares that she volunteered for the prison, without knowing the true extent of its brutality. When the platform arrives with food, she only takes what she needs, feeding some to her dog before setting aside rations for later. As the platform descends to the lower levels, Imiri attempts to reason with the prisoners, urging them to eat only their share and prepare extra portions for the next level. However, her plea is met with indifference. Goring remarks that the management likely wants to prevent any sense of solidarity from developing, which frustrates Imiri. She argues that the management is entirely corrupt because she once worked for them. After 2 weeks, Goring grows tired of her constant frustration and makes a drastic threat. He tells the prisoners that if they don't follow her instructions, he will defecate on the food every day, forcing them to consume garbage. This threat proves effective, and the prisoners begin passing messages to the lower levels. Eventually, the platform arrives with an unconscious Miharu. Goring and Imiri carefully place her on a bed and tend to her while the dog sneaks food. Once they leave the platform, the temperature drops drastically, and Goring must chase down the dog to reclaim the stolen food before they're punished for breaking the rules. Later, Goring gives up his bed for Miharu and ends up sleeping on the floor. He wakes up to find the two women fighting, only to discover that Miharu had killed the dog to eat it. The next day, Miharu leaves on the platform again. Goring expresses concern for Miharu, who has been searching for her child, but Imiri reveals that 10 months ago, Miharu was an actress without a family and volunteered for prison like Goring. She had no idea how severe the conditions would be, and had been battling cancer for 3 years. When she realized she had lost her fight with cancer, she chose to enter the prison, hoping to make a difference. But now she no longer cares. On their last day on level 33, Goring tries to convince Imiri to eat, fearing she won't have food the next day. But Imiri, in her desperation, can't even get out of bed. The following morning, Goring wakes up to find himself on level 202, revealing that there are even more levels than Imiri had known. This new revelation overwhelms Imiri, and in despair, she uses her bed sheets to end her life. At that moment, Trimagasi's hallucinations return. He wonders if Goring is going to eat his girlfriend, and soon he is joined by Imiri and her dog, who insist that he should eat her body. Goring does his best to ignore their delirious whispers and distracts himself with other thoughts. He tricks his body into consuming pages from his book and starts marking the passing days on the wall using a shard of plate. But eventually, the hunger becomes unbearable, and Goring succumbs, beginning to eat Imiri's body while Trimagasi guides him on where to cut. Eventually, the time passes and Goring is relieved to find that he's been moved to the 6th floor. The person lying on the other bed is Miharu, holding a knife. However, it turns out to be just a dream. His new cellmate is Bharat, who has brought a rope as his chosen item. Bharat is full of excitement, believing that from here, he can climb all the way to the top. He asks the people on level 5 for help and they agree. Bharat begins his climb, but just as he gets started, another prisoner on the level lowers her pants and defecates on Bharat's face. Shocked and disgusted, Bharat loses his grip and lets go of the rope. Goring manages to grab him, but the rope is lost to the hole. When they reach the platform, they begin eating while the sounds of the prisoners on level 5 echo in the background, seemingly carefree. As time passes, Goring's hallucinations of Trimagasi and Imiri return. Trimagasi reminds him that he only has a month left, and Imiri adds that real change never comes without a fight. These words inspire Goring, who begins to formulate a plan. He turns to Bharat for help, telling him they need to jump onto the platform with whatever weapons they can find, and make sure food is distributed, so that everyone gets their share. Goring does the math and figures that with the platform speed, they are somewhere around level 250, which seems manageable. Bharat agrees to help and breaks a bed apart, using the metal pieces as weapons. The two of them leap onto the platform and move down to level 7. Goring insists they should keep the prisoners from grabbing food, pointing out that those above have already eaten and will eat again. The real focus should be on helping those who need it most, starting at level 50. Bart hesitates, though, because the prisoners on the upper floors had helped him climb just weeks ago. However, when an older prisoner reacts angrily, Bart sees the truth of Goring's point and helps keep the others away from the food. As they descend, they continue threatening those who try to take anything. After a few more levels, they encounter Brambang, an elderly man and Bart's friend. Brambang agrees with their mission but warns that the management has no conscience and won't care if they succeed. Still, the lower-level workers might. To make an impression, they need something symbolic, so Bart and Goring choose the Banakata dish, a rare and elegant meal that would leave a lasting impact if it were to reach the very bottom untouched. Their journey continues as they descend, keeping the Banakata dish safe and guarding the food from those who would try to take it. Once they reach level 50, Goring and Bart begin distributing the rations to the prisoners, who are extremely grateful. On level 97, they find a sick old man and a mentally disabled boy. Goring offers some soup to the old man, but the boy tells him not to bother, saying he'll kill the old man later to feed on him. The next level is even worse. Only a dead body remains, and Goring guesses that this is where Miharu was once placed. The platform doesn't stop here, as there are no living people left. Goring realizes that his calculations were wrong. There are far more than 250 levels. On the following floor, they find two men attacking Miharu. Goring and Bart leap to help, but it's difficult to defend her. Bart manages to overpower one man and helps Goring kill the other. Unfortunately, they are too late. Miharu is already dead. Goring wants to mourn her, but Bart drags him onto the platform, unwilling to stop. They continue descending, distributing food as they go. Many levels are filled with only corpses, and they eventually reach level 333, which appears to be the last. At first, it seems empty, but then they discover someone hiding under the bed, Molly, the missing child. Bart and Goring approach the child. To their surprise, the room doesn't react with heat or cold to punish them, and after much hesitation, Bart hands the Banakata dish to Molly. Goring remains haunted by the ghosts of Trimagasi and Imiri, and now a new presence haunts him too. Bart suddenly makes an agreement with one of the ghosts, telling Goring that the girl is the message. When Goring wakes up, he finds that Bart has died from his injuries. The next time the platform arrives, Goring brings Molly with him. They descend to level 0, which is completely dark and empty. Trimagasi appears and asks Goring to leave the platform, saying that he is not part of the message. Together, they watch the platform rise, carrying Molly with it, hoping to show the attackers the truth of the situation. Thanks for being with us this far.